Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to SALTO Digital Dialogues. It is 1300 Central or 1400 Finnish time, so we are officially underway. It's very nice to actually be able to finally kick off this session. As you might know, we are fairly new in the scene. We'll go over that in a second, and we've been really looking forward to actually starting these sessions, also to talking with all of you guys. With me today here is Jaakko, also from our team, and
Hello.
my name is Juha, and we currently form the SALTO Digital team. For everybody's information, the session is being recorded, will be uploaded to YouTube after the fact. And during the first part of this SALTO Digital Dialogue, the microphones and cameras will be disabled for you guys, but please use the chat as actively as possible. Few notes on how we are going to run things here. Jaak will be helping out on the back end and answering in the chat as well during the time that we are speaking. But as I said, everything is recorded and shared, but the Q&A session in the last half an hour or so in the meeting, that will not be recorded. We might change that in the future, but at least for this session, we will turn the recording off at that point. Even in the Q&A, when you can actually turn your mics on, keep it off unless you're actually speaking, just to minimize disturbances from the background, as usual in any kind of these meetings. And if you have technical issues, you might not be able to fix them in this session, but for the next sessions, make sure that all your apps are updated to the latest version. As for the less technical stuff, everything we talk about here is mainly aimed at NA staff, National Agency, because we do work cross-sectorally in SALTO Digital. Feel free to ask, and please ask a lot of questions from our speakers in the Q&A section, or chat about what is being discussed in the chat, or continue making reports on how it is where you currently are. It's a good place to start from. And you all have been invited to our house base page as well, so do be active there as well. On the community page, we have a couple of polls for you guys, and you can also continue contributing and exchanging there. So before I hand over the floor to our first guest speaker, Sigrid, I'd like to go through quickly about SALTO Digital, what it is that we do and where did we pop on the scene, in case you did not know. Well, most of you do know, since a lot of you, I believe, are National Agency digital contact points today. So we've been launched last year, and we started working in November with Jaakko. And we are still lacking our third team member, but they will also start soon. Maybe even in the next dialogue, they will already be here. We'll see. Our main task on the scene, as with any SALTO resource center, is to support the implementation of the European programs, so Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps. And our task is, of course, to support the implementation of the digital dimension of the programs. We are very aware that it's been there for a while, and we will try to help everyone to implement it in a way that makes sense and that is really transparent to also all the applicants and all the other people connected to the program. Other thing we will do is we will start building a knowledge hub that will help with information, help with practical examples of what digital transformation in the programs can mean. We know that it's currently a bit hard to find examples of quality projects involving the digital dimension, and we hope that we can help with that as well. And all in all, we try to channel as much knowledge as possible, both from different policy documents, try to translate them your way into a format that is as digestible for you as possible. And on the other hand, we try to take information from the field and give it over to the Commission and other policymakers, so that it's easier to make also better policies in the future. So we are situated in the Finnish National Agency. Our office is in Hakaniemi in Helsinki, and as I said, we have 2 staff members at the moment. Me and Jaakko are both senior advisors, and we are in the process of finalizing the recruitment of our team leader, aka counselor of education. But we are, of course, only 3, and we work with all NAs across the board. So we are lucky enough that we also have access to the resources from our national agency, including staff and other resources. So we are not quite as small as we seem, even if we are only 3. What we try to do, as I said, we try to raise the quality and impact of the projects that include somehow the digital dimension, and try to also help you support those kinds of projects and projects and activities. Of course, it's a bit tricky to figure out how this digital transformation priority should be implemented, and we try to help optimize that. So we are probably the first stop when you are trying to guide someone and you're not quite unsure whether they are doing the right things. Maybe they're not even sure if they're doing the right things. So feel free to give us a ping on any electronic messaging service in your disposal. You can probably also call us, but we are kind of, I know I am always confused when my phone actually rings, like what is happening. So emails and any type of direct messages are usually the best thing. Of course, monitoring, follow-up, all of this stuff is on our table as well. We'll help in any way that we can on that. And of course, the bane of the youth field's at least existence in my experience is the analysis and impact assessment. That's super difficult on basically every level, and we'll try to come up with good kind of models and tools for those as well. And we'll actually be talking about some of them in the next portion as well in this session. This little box that says no tech support, sorry, is there to say that even if I know the expectation is, or we know the expectation is there, but we do not and will not give out technical support for the tools that are existing within the programs. That's simply out of our scope, and we have no resources to do that, and we actually don't probably even know how to do that. That being said, we are happy to advocate or take your messages of, hey, the tools don't do what they're supposed to do, or we don't have the right kind of tools. We're happy to take those messages and pass them along. That is indeed what we do. A few notes on what happens next. So we will be, as I said, we will be fully staffed in a moment, and future developments will include the launch of the Knowledge Hub that I already mentioned. We are taking the first steps already to figure out how that will look and what it will be technically. We are opening our webpage very soon. We'll actually have a session on it tomorrow. One big thing is this digital dialogue series, which we are now sitting in. So every last Thursday of every month will be the next session. And you all that are included in the house space will get first-hand knowledge on what the next topics will be. Another thing will be a residential meeting for the national agency contact points, and that information I hope we can publish very, very soon. But our idea is to host a residential meeting so we can kick off the cooperation with all the contact point people late this spring. So stay tuned for that message as well. So that is what we are beginning with. This is where you can currently find us. Emails work the best, as it says in the slide. And this little QR code and this link leads to our link tree, which is kind of our electronic business card at the moment. So there you will currently find and will continue to find the latest information and updates from us. So that's it for my little update for what is happening with us. And without further ado, I will give out the floor to our first guest speaker, which my slide is slightly buggy apparently, but it happens even on Teams. But Sigrid, if you are ready, I will give the floor over to you.
Yes, thank you, Juha, for this introduction. So my name is Sigrid Smith-Tonnessen. I'm working as a program officer in DG EAC Unit B3 in the programming sector for the youth programs. And I'm also a seconded national expert from Norway. I have been invited here today to take you through the landscape of the digital dimension in our sector. There was a session on the educational sectors just before Christmas, and we had a short intro to our sectors, but it's good to have a separate one today. So thank you for inviting me here. The digital transformation is a transversal priority of both Erasmus and European Solidarity Corps, and the two programs and the different sectors in Erasmus Plus contribute to different extents and in different ways to the priority. As we discussed during the recent NA meeting in Brussels, we are still exploring what the digital transformation means in our field and in our programs. We know that the COVID pandemic put us in a situation where we all had to dive into the digital and exploit the existing opportunities to be able to cooperate, stay in contact and learn. And now that things are returning to normal, there is a certain fatigue when it comes to the digital. And in our sector, feeling that youth work should be based on the physical encounters. However, in our main policy documents, they date from before COVID, and we're already raising the attention towards these aspects before the world lockdown. We need to remember that digital is not merely online. It is not just an alternative to physical mobility, as we tended to experience it during the pandemic. I think we can go to the next slide, please. So the context of the program priority is the Commission priority, a Europe fit for the digital age. The political guidelines of the European Commission underline the need for Europe to lead the digital transition, and this is one of the 6 main priorities of the Commission. The Digital Education Action Plan contributes to this Commission priority. It encourages action at all levels to contribute to the digital transformation through all forms of learning. And the second priority of the DIAP, enhancing skills and competencies for the digital transformation, is particularly relevant for the youth chapter of Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps. It addresses, for instance, the recently created European Digital Education Hub, and the issue of digital literacy and how to tackle disinformation. In addition to the Digital Education Action Plan, the priority is translated into our sector through a handful of sector-specific policy papers. And next slide, please. So transforming education for the digital age is a task for the whole society, and this includes the non-formal sector and youth work. Digital youth work is a rather new domain of youth work, and its development is mostly supported through exchanges of good practices and peer learning, focusing on increasing digital competence levels in both young people and youth workers, and through encouragement in the research area. In our sector, we support the digital dimension of youth and youth work through 3 dimensions, so to speak. The first, relates to our sector-specific policy documents and legal basis, which are at the basis of our actions and initiatives. So in addition to the Digital Education Action Plan that I already mentioned, and which was covered in detail in the first edition of these online dialogues, the main policy documents underpinning the digital dimension in the youth programs are the European Youth Strategy, the Council conclusions on digital youth work, which are building on the Council conclusion on smart youth work, and also the European Youth Work Agenda, which are listed here. These documents contain recommendations that we work towards together with the various stakeholders. And the challenges we are to address links to the fact that active citizenship in life in general requires a certain level of digital skills. And these are skills we can't take for granted that young people possess. Through youth work activities, young people become active and independent citizens, and therefore youth work should also address the development of their digital skills and awareness. Youth work can contribute to bridging digital gaps, both by providing access to devices and online environments, and by supporting the development of skills and competences. An important factor for this to succeed is to support youth workers in developing skills, mindsets, tools, and methodologies. Next slide, please. The second dimension would be the initiatives under the EU Council of Europe Partnership, financed under Key Action 3 of Erasmus Plus program. Several smart and digital youth work resources have been developed and made available under the partnerships. To mention some, the Coyote magazine offers hands-on guidance and tools for a wide range of topics, including dealing with the digital dimension of youth work. You may also be aware of the many trainings, conferences, and research activities organized under the partnership. Many of these on topics related to digital, such as artificial intelligence and young people, social inclusion and digitalization, adapting to changes in young people's realities. I can also recommend the Under 30 podcast, which also offers insights on the topic. Next slide. The third dimension to approach the digital in our sector is, of course, through the common program priority for Erasmus Plus and the Solidarity Corps. I already touched upon the context for the priority in the youth sector. The digital surrounds us. It is part of our lives. Youth work can support young people and give them skills and mindsets that they need. This could also include digital. Youth work could also empower young people to be active and creative in digital society, to make informed and reasoned decisions, and to take responsibility and control of their digital identity. Young people face many online risks related to online behavior, exposure to various content and to various encounters, and also commercial actors. Hate speech, cyberbullying, disinformation, and propaganda is part of the online reality, and youth work could help them better cope with this. Digital media and technology have changed rapidly in recent years, and this has also influenced on youth work. The level of digital development and skills varies a lot between countries, within countries, between organizations and individuals. A significant number of youth work practitioners may not have the necessary digital competencies to make the best possible use of digital technologies in youth work. There is perhaps also a lot of fear of not mastering the digital tools and environments, as well as the young people. We could also be talking of building confidence. Moreover, the digital infrastructure is differently developed. There are social differences, gender differences, cultural differences. Our programs can be an important tool to close these divides and leave no one behind. Next slide, please. Our programs contain several mechanisms to support and encourage the digital transformation through project activities. The narrative of the digital is present throughout the program guides, and in our sector, applicants are encouraged to incorporate the use of virtual elements to boost the participants' skills and to make activities better, more relevant, more attractive, and innovative. The digital is proposed under the various topics for activities in the drop-down list, as well as a transversal priority to address. Under the award criteria, proposals are assessed for the extent to which they address the digital or make use of virtual components. This can encourage applicants to give the topic more consideration when preparing their proposals. In addition, there is one specific action in our field that is purely virtual, decentralized virtual exchanges. So the last point concerning the project costs, such costs related to virtual components or the use of digital tools are, as you know, not covered by a specific unit cost. In principle, such costs should be covered depending on the actions from other budget items, just like other costs related to the implementation of an activity. We know that many of you are concerned that projects that address the digital need additional funding and are arguing that there should also be financial incentives to introduce modern technology in the activities. In order to have evidence of these costs, we launched a study this autumn to collect and analyze information on the actual costs of organizing virtual activities and introducing digital tools in the projects. We're expecting the report from the study in the spring. And hopefully this study will give us answers and necessary evidence to decide if it's necessary to suggest the introduction of funding to finance activities supporting the digital transition. The midterm evaluation of the programs will hopefully also provide us with additional information on the implementation of all the program priorities so far, and perhaps some answers to needs for fine-tuning or changes to the actions. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, I lost my image here. Yes. So I apologize for this very full slide. I'm not going to dwell on it, but this slide and the next one show how the context of the digital is expressed in the program guides for the two programs. I think you will have access to the slides after the session, so you can have a closer look later on. Here is the similar compilation for the Solidarity Core. But complementing physical activities, boosting skills, and looking at how the use of modern technology could contribute to increase the quality of the activities and to make them inclusive, relevant, and attractive are key elements for the beneficiaries in both programs and is highlighted throughout the program guides. So let's take the next slide. I was invited to include some slides on support structures and resources as well. In the Erasmus Plus and Solidarity Core landscape, there are various support structures, initiatives, and materials available for you. The main element in this context is, of course, the recently established digital SALTO and the activities that Juha and colleagues will initiate. And it was nice to see this short introduction on what you're about to start up with. We are looking very much forward to you getting into full speed and see what how you can contribute. And of course, we are very happy to have such a huge youth competence in the digital SALTO as well. I would also like to mention that the SALTO participation and information has been very active in the intersection of digital transformation, youth, media, and information literacy. If you haven't done it already, I strongly recommend you to visit their website and explore the compiled project examples, the studies, the articles. Their pool of resources is very rich and very useful. You can take the next slide. I would also like to mention in this context all the SALTO websites, which offer a range of resources such as trainings, collections of best practice, think tanks, and toolkits. I see that I have lost one point here because in the context of the support structures, the RAY network and the research done is, of course, also a huge support. In the network and often with support of the Erasmus Plus program, we have seen the creation of many initiatives and structures like the Quality app, the HOP online learning community platform. In addition, the various strategic long-term cooperation activities between the NAs provide important developments for our sectors. And the SNAC on digital youth work is, of course, the most central for our topic today. There are countless more initiatives, so this was just to mention some of the resources that you have at your disposal. And next slide. I'm taking you a bit back into the inner landscape of the programs, but still within the topic of support structures. In the Solidarity Core platform provides easy access to volunteering and solidarity opportunities, and it offers an online environment and support for community building for organizations and young people who are interested in getting involved. On program level, we have delivered and further developed several platforms and tools over the recent years. We have developed a general online training as an offer to all young people who have taken the step to register for the Solidarity Core. For participants in both programs, the online language support is an important step forward in making language learning accessible and streamlined. And for Youth Pass, there is an online environment for assessment and documentation of learning outcomes. The European Youth Portal is a gateway to opportunities and information for young people. The numbers of visitors are increasing, and with the Year of Youth, it has become a hub for information and activities in Europe and beyond. And finally, even if more closely connected to the digital education plan, which has the more predominant place in the other sectors, the Digital Education Hub is indeed open for our sector as well. On this platform, stakeholders can connect, cooperate, and exchange, and the hub should contribute to a reinforced cooperation on digital education at the EU level and to a more agile development of policy and practice in digital education. So coming to my last slide. The continuous and rapid development in the area we are addressing today calls for capacity and competence building on all levels, including in the NAs and among the stakeholders. The program supports such activities through the TCA and NET activities, and also in the long-term strategic SNACs. The various SALTOs provide support to address the digital. I already mentioned SALTO participation and information, working on the digital transformation and media and information literacy. I could also mention the SALTO training and cooperation with the competence framework for youth workers, which now includes references to digital competences. The education and training strategy and the YOCOMO project are also elements to support competence building among the stakeholders. Another important feature is the KMST group and the NA's common strategy for development of staff competences. It's important. It is an important element to make sure staff trainings are organized regularly and on appropriate subjects. In addition, your organizations should have put in place an internal strategy for competence building. In this context, it could be relevant to mention also your digital strategies in the multi-annual work programs. So I hope this has given you some clarity and a better overview of the digital dimension in our sector. I will be happy to stay on and try to respond to any comments you may have, and I will still take the opportunity now to thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sigrid. Now is the time where you can shout out in the Q&A section or just write in the chat. Either way is perfectly fine in case you have any questions for Sigrid. And while you're doing that, because I see that there weren't yet any questions on either one, I have a couple of questions for Sigrid. I feel like it's very interesting going back to, for example, what you wrote about how, sorry, my English is failing me. What or why the digital transformation priority is relevant. And I think that relevance is true for both the educational sectors and the youth sector. So how do you feel? Are there a lot of similarities in the policies and the structures on the educational sectors and the youth sectors? And of course, there is overlap as well. How do you see things?
Yes, of course, I would say that in our sector, we have a different infrastructure. The types of actors that are active in our field are often not comparable to those active in the educational sector. There are bigger institutions with a stronger support around them, and maybe also more long-term working conditions. I think that maybe the ambitions and the capacities of the organizations in the different fields vary a lot. We also have our focus on the non-formal learning, and we use different methodologies and meet the young people in different arenas. However, the goals of upskilling young people and the staff are the same independently of the sectors. And as I mentioned, this second priority of the Digital Education Action Plan is highly relevant also for us. We need to boost the capacity in the digital for youth workers, for the young people, and to contribute to creating this agile mindset that we need for today's society.
Yeah, I feel like this agile mindset idea keeps repeating in different contexts when you talk about digitalization. Like you have to keep light on your feet, or otherwise you will just fall behind super quickly. And I found a slide where you were talking about the reasons why the priority is there, and I feel like it's really important to note that the reasons are really similar, or the reasons are the same in any case, regardless of which sector you work in. And I've felt that even if the youth field and formal education seem to sometimes have a big rift between them, I feel like digitalization and digital topics is one that is really shared really strongly, and that can, I think, it also help to kind of bridge those divides a bit. My other question to you, well, one was about support structures, but you covered them so extensively already that we don't need to get back to them. And by the way, all those links are already in the house page. So after this session, feel free, everyone, to take a look at those as well. But my other question to you, Sigrid, would be then a bit more future or forward-looking. What would you see as the central challenges for digitalization and the youth field in the future, either short-term future or long-term? How do you feel? I know it's a really big question, but what comes to mind?
Yeah, that's a big question, and I think I can only answer that from my point of view as you know, as a person. I think I mean we today's the current situation of the world is difficult, and I think that young people feel that very strongly. So at least in a wider context, I would say that the war, the security situation, the climate challenges, this is really what affects young people the most. So how we can cope with this fear for the future. I think that the Year of Youth that just ended managed to put young people on the agenda, brought forward many young voices and made them heard, both in public spaces and within Parliament and within the Commission. I think that we made important steps to try to mainstream youth policies into other policies, and I think it will be really exciting to follow the legacy of the Year of Youth and see how we can support young people for a safer and a better future and involve them in creating this. I'm not sure if I answered directly to your question, but yeah.
Yeah, I think there is a lot there in your answer that directly and indirectly connects to digitalization as well. So I think it's a very good personal answer to the very big question. As I see that there are no pressing questions from the audience at the moment, then we say again thank you to Sigrid. Someone is commenting that there are several overlaps with education and training sector, which is very true, and highlighting, Tina is highlighting this leave no one behind idea and the need for digital skills. And I can say for sure that we will be diving into the topic of digital skills and how they are framed. For example, around DigComp, we will for sure be diving into those in future sessions, probably even during the spring still. So we will discuss skills further. But thank you, Sigrid, and we can move on to the next topic. There is more time for questions still in the final Q&A bit. So we will continue onwards to the SNAC that was already mentioned a couple of times. Now, the SNAC on digital youth work has been running already for a while, and it's on its final months at the moment, as you can see from the years. And and it's been it is still coordinated by the Finnish National Agency, but unfortunately none of our colleagues from the Finnish NA were available today to discuss the SNAC. But this ties in very nicely also to our other topic today, and luckily I have been involved in my previous job in the Finnish National Center for Expertise for Digital Youth Work. I was involved in this SNAC from the beginning, so I can also present this part. So the background is that there was a need for actually helping implement into the field these council conclusions on smart youth work, the European definition of digital youth work from the expert group on digitalization and youth, as well as the council conclusions on digital youth work. The people behind the project, they wanted to make a direct link also to the EU Youth Strategy, which was fairly new at the time when they started building up or making the original project plans. And the topic was already really high on priorities in many countries. But of course, as we know, after the fact, when the planning had already started, that the relevance was highly increased by COVID-19 and the resulting lockdowns, which kind of forced everyone to take a bigger role in online youth work as well in the field. And that was true for national youth sectors, for the international youth work scene, as well as the youth programs. So Erasmus Plus and ESC were, for sure, as you all know, very highly impacted also. In the background, the ones making the plans saw that there is really a big need for innovation and competence development, and COVID kind of highlighted this as well. I can share that nationally in Finland, for example, which is a fairly professionalized youth work scene and a very advanced scene also in terms of digital and online youth work, still many practitioners came to us in the international scene and said that, hey, you can't, I've never done something like this before. So a lot of the competence was still lacking, or there were big gaps in between, and how to translate those youth work competences into an online format. That was a big challenge for everyone across Europe. And kind of linking digital youth work practice, also other digital youth work practice than the online component of it, linking it to kind of a wider context has been a challenge over the years. So this is what the SNAC also wanted to tackle. Expected outcomes are pretty much the same as the different work packages. So national youth strategies should better support the implementation of digital youth work or address digitalization better. So that was work package 1. Then work packages 2 and 3 were around digital competences of practitioners and digital competences of young people as well. So to kind of looking at those aspects, which are the other part is how to implement digital youth work, and the other part is one outcome, or one at least hoped outcome of digital youth work. Understanding digital environments, so that was work package 4 around online youth work and innovative and inclusive online youth work. And then promoting digital creativity, which is kind of really resonates with me as well, and virtual and blended mobilities, which already Sigrid mentioned as well, which is problematic in the context of the European youth programs. Yeah, so moving on to singular work packages, and do write any questions in the chat or in the Q&A. I can see both while I am presenting. I was actually the work package lead for work package 1. And I found this a very interesting process in the sense that our participants in the work package, they were representatives from national ministries or people who were directly connected to making national youth strategies and youth policies in their countries. And you can see on the slide here on the top, there is a representation of the countries that were there, and that was the small group that we had for about a year. So this was really a peer learning exercise to see how other countries have tackled the challenge of including digitalization in those national strategies and policies, and what can be learned from that. The process was really looking at the content of policies, like what is a quality representation of digitalization in a national strategy. It was looking at the process of creating strategies. Who do you need to involve to actually be able to make a high quality strategy? Who are the stakeholders you need to work with? What is the information that you need for the basis of that? Then it was a lot about implementation. How do you support the implementation of those strategies, and how do you assess whether those strategies worked or didn't? And the outcome was that we made, within this process of having a pre-survey to assess what the current situation was in each country, so we can get a baseline, meeting a couple of times, consulting national actors in between, and then coming up with the recommendations together. So we came up with this, and this is all highlighted in the report that is already available online, and this is already in the house base as well. So together with the participants, we identified common challenges with the process, implementation, and content of strategies regarding digitalization, and a set of 9 recommendations for creating basically better national strategies, including digitalization. Well, this was interesting. This was interesting for me also as a youth worker to kind of facilitate a discussion around. It's a very political discussion. It's a very much about priorities, like what youth outcomes or youth issues should be prioritized over others, because there is never a limited amount of money and resources to be involved. And then again, how to kind of have a balanced set of recommendations that can be translated to different national contexts as well, whether it's regarding funding instruments or whether it's regarding involving stakeholders and kind of having a common discussion. So these are very interesting and hopefully also very useful for stakeholders as well. So second work package run by our Estonian friends, so Estonian NA, aimed at looking at what the current state of digitalization is in the youth field, and supporting the capabilities of youth organizations. So this was about youth worker competencies, but this was also competences within an organization, because very few youth workers also work alone. Rather, they are usually a part of a community or an organization. So how to support that kind of development as well. Started as well with a very extensive mapping process. That report is already online and also linked in the house base. So European level report, as well as reports from 10 different countries that are listed there. Not a very surprising finding in the sense that there is a lot of practice out there, but it is not very strategic at the moment. So strategies are lacking, impact assessment is lacking in a lot of places, and there is no clear common kind of view on what the central competences needed for digital approaches are or in regards to digitalization in the youth field in general. And that's, of course, a challenge. We have several competence models already, which are very good for youth work in general. Even if they are not completely universal, they go a long way already at being there. but they don't really include a very robust link to digitalization yet. So this is something that the field has been needing for a while, and hopefully this will highlight it very well. So currently there will be 2 frameworks and self-assessment tools. I think this is very cool that this work package will produce actual usable online tools where practitioners and organizations can test their know-how. And this is great, in my opinion, in the sense that this joint European effort. There are national exercises and national tools available already and models available, but not a shared European one. So it'll be cool to see how the final versions are. So this is a bit about the self-assessment tool for youth workers. So it's divided into these 5 competence areas with 13 competences, which is like the actual producing digital content, using devices, etc. The second one, understanding the youth work content, the digital youth work content. Third, digital rights, super important topic nowadays for young people. Then the critical digital literacy links very highly into current phenomena around AI and fake news and all of this media literacy stuff as well. And then a super important aspect of youth work is identity construction. So how do young people reflect on their identity online? Then the second part is this digital capacities of organizations. This slide is also cutting away a little bit. I'll have to check that and re-upload. But basically looking at organizational capacities also from these 5 capacity areas. Very useful for an organization that wants to assess or evaluate where they are or whether they are going in the right direction in terms of their organizational digital capacities. Work package 3 looked at young people's digital capacities, and I don't have a super deep presentation here of the results because the results are simply not ready yet. They will be published more extensively next month in the final event of the SNAC, but I have a sneak peek here. So one thing they really focused on was digital youth work and creativity. So how digital youth work can support young people's creativity in this era using also digital means. And I think this is super youth work friendly or youth work resonating approach in the sense that often when we talk about digital capacities, we talk about very like hard-ish skills in the sense that they are job-related skills, they are study-related skills, this kind of stuff. So at least for me, this digital creativity really resonates a lot. And in that line, there is also this idea of technology being a tool for creative expression. I think this also links to what we were discussing with Sigrid before about how to bridge a bit more the divide between formal and non-formal education. I firmly believe that if we can engage young people with technology to support their creativity, they will be also more open-minded to learn more about technology and strengthen their digital competences in other areas as well. So this could really work wonderfully as a kind of support measure for these other digital skills as well. This is from their research as well. They found that creative digital youth work builds all these kind of skills in the means while being creative. So self-reliance in presenting publicly and creative thinking and all of this stuff that is needed anywhere else as well. So I think this kind of reiterates the point I was making just now. But also it affects succeeding in these kind of creative digital endeavors strengthens young people's social skills and communication and resilience in all other facets of their lives as well. So I'm really looking forward to this research report as well when it comes out next month. Then work package 4 looked at online youth work and new practices for online youth work. A lot of partners in this one. And their aim was to see what online services and online approaches actually are out there already, and look at those from an inclusion perspective especially. And the research report highlights a lot of national research where they really looked at national practice in all these different countries and what was found there. So we just had a peer learning activity in Berlin where I was also present and where we discussed a lot of these topics, and the European report, which is not published yet but will be very soon, will highlight all these findings along these themes, and also the compilation, kind of a curated compilation of different tools is already available on the HOP platform now. So it's possible to look at them even now. That HOP link actually isn't on our house page yet, but we will add it after this. So these were the main themes that were identified. I won't go through all of them, and apologies for a bit pixelated slide here. But for example, very strong themes of using existing online platforms, which was a no-brainer in the pandemic lockdown times, because we simply couldn't in the youth field stop and develop our own platforms, but we had to rather use what is already out there. But it's still about providing safe spaces for young people, for reaching them and co-creating those communities. So it's a lot of things are there. Here in the middle, we can again see this thing about adopting a digital mindset, which was highlighted in these online youth work examples very strongly as well. On the other slide, here again, inclusion was a very strong theme also. And then finally here, the final theme was having a blended approach, especially like moving from the pandemic times to where we are now, seeing how we can use a lot of those online approaches, but still combine that with face-to-face activities as well. Then finally, even if this was the first work package to actually complete their work, work package 5 looked at quality recommendations for online hybrid and blended mobilities. And this report, their final report, is also available already online. So they were looking at how actors were forced to be flexible to carry out any kind of activities online due to the pandemic, and what the pandemic forced them to do. They started by analyzing what there was in the activities and what were the lessons from those activities. Started making a collection of best practices and research conducted, and getting kind of or adding to that an input from practitioners and experts. So conducting interviews, there are podcasts, and there are other types of stuff which I highly recommend to listen as well. The outcomes were quality recommendations, which are there. So they are both for the youth sector itself, so how the youth sector can make quality activities, but also recommendations that have been handed over to a commission in terms of what is a high quality activity. And of course, there is this big question of the funding questions, and these are still, as of yet, of course, unresolved, but hopefully that will get there as well. Next, the final slide from them. So they concluded that we are still in very early stages, because during the pandemic we just had to do things, and we haven't had the time yet properly to stop and assess and evaluate how it went. And a proper analysis should definitely be made with a very wide kind of audience as well. Long-term approach is of course needed. This is something that needs to be adopted long-term and not just temporarily. And of course, a strategy and a guideline needs to be found. It's a combination of national agencies figuring out how to support projects with a digital dimension, how to support virtual and blended mobilities, but also a guideline for funding rules, and adaptation of funding rules needs to be in place at one point about how this should be done. I see the chat is going wild now. I will just go through the final slide before responding to any questions that there are. So what is happening next in the SNAC? As I mentioned, there is the final dissemination event of the project is coming up in pretty much exactly a month in Dublin. So by then we should have out a lot of the final materials and reports from the different work packages, and then we can really look at the big picture. There is also going to be a future-looking planning session on the 24th, so at the end of this event, where there will be NA representatives there planning on future cooperation. So where to take the process from here. When we have these policy documents, when we have the council conclusions, when we have all the things that we already have, where do we take it from here? How do we build on these conclusions from these work packages and from the research that has been made during the last couple of years? And everything will be published online, of course, and we really do hope in the SNAC that cooperation will continue a lot. So I did see questions. Whoa, let's turn on private view because someone is changing my slides. I actually don't see in the chat now. Jaakko, can you see the chat? Because for some reason I cannot. Sorry, now I actually can see this.
You can see now?
Yeah, I can see that. I open a different window and I can see now the questions. Yeah. So the reality is that unfortunately a lot of you did not hear from the SNAC results yet. Some of you have heard broadly about the objectives, but didn't really come up a lot. I think that's one thing that we will be trying to kind of make better in the long run in SALTO Digital, that we'll try to compile the information that is coming up. And of course, we will have a bit more time to follow all the channels, all the output coming out of digital topics and share them condensedly in one place. So that's one thing our Knowledge Hub will for sure help, or we at least hope that it will help disseminate all this information. Jaakko also asked a good question in the Q&A, whether digital competences for youth workers framework, does it play together with DigComp? It definitely does, because the basis, if I remember correctly, the basis for that framework is rooted in DigComp as well. And it's one of the central frameworks that was on their table during the process. So it's definitely very much there, and it plays nice with other documents as well. Of course, it wouldn't make a lot of sense if one hand would not know what the other one was doing, in the sense that if we could see that one project with Erasmus Plus funding would output something that would be at odds with other guidelines. So of course, always good to make sure that everything is playing together nicely. So yeah, the digital competence framework is really a central document for all actors. At this point, I will say thank you to everyone watching on YouTube at the moment, and we will stop the recording here. But before that, I will still invite everyone to contact us in these addresses or find us on the link tree. So whenever you need us for support in your national agencies, this is where you can contact us. So thank you for this session for the recording side. See you on the next.